everyone. My name is Robert Espiau. I am going to talk a little bit about religious trauma today. And my background is I'm a former monastic in the Eastern traditions of Buddhism and Brahmanism for 6 years. I also went to seminary to be a priest, and I lived in a few monasteries and religious closed communities. And I want to talk a little bit about religion and stepping out of religious trauma, getting into religious trauma recovery. And the main thing I want to talk about today is the problem with the deconstructionist approach. There are really three approaches to working on religious trauma. The first is the old style, which is kind of cult deprogramming. The second is really a cognitive behavioral, more atheistic approach. And the last is what I would call more of a gnostic approach, which is where you discover your own truth for yourself. So the one that you hear a lot about now online is this deconstructionist approach, which is really based on the old cult deprogramming style. So and this is something that's really coming from the basic assumption that all religions are stupid or foolish. They're not reality. The goal of this type of counseling is for someone to gradually help the person to realize that their religion is delusional or wrong in some way, and to come out away from those beliefs and those ways of thinking. Now, there's a big problem with this approach, a huge problem that a lot of people don't realize. First of all, if you're born into a religion, you're not stupid at all. You didn't have any choice. You don't maybe even know that there's any other options. You could be a quite intelligent person, actually, within the context of your group. This actually happens a lot. And so the second thing is that with deconstructionism, the problem is that many of the beliefs that we hold within a religion are coping mechanisms. They help us to manage our emotions, they manage our anxiety, right? So if you begin to take away those coping mechanisms from somebody, it can be quite dangerous. And I see this a lot with therapists or counselors who don't really understand religious trauma, and they do more harm than good. And I'll give you an example. So if you're raised in a Christian belief, you're brought up to believe that that your emotions and sin are pretty much almost identical. They're connected, right? Most of your emotions can either lead to sinfulness, or or your emotions are just not to be trusted altogether, right? So there's always a lot of doubt. Now, you're struggling to be with your own emotions. You're struggling to be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect, let's say. And if you believe in the Bible. So your way out of this is you pray, you ask Christ for forgiveness. And that's how you evacuate the shame and the guilt and the different feelings you have of anxiety. You pray and you feel a sense of relief, you feel a sense of letting go. So this is sort of your only way, your only drain that everything can go down. Now, if you take away that person's belief in their religion, what happens is they're left with a lot of the guilt and the shame and the other feelings. They may realize their religion is stupid or wrong or unreal, or coming into things that may be very angry, and now they feel, that it's okay for them to be angry, and they're okay with some of those feelings. But there are a lot of very other complicated feelings, because religious trauma is attachment trauma. So when they lose that ability to pray and ask for forgiveness, now they have no exit point for the anxiety, for the shame, and the shame and the anxiety continues to build and build in them. And they can sometimes become suicidal or enter dysthymia, which is long-term depression. They can feel really stuck. Sometimes they have PTSD that will go really unresolved for many years because there is no exit point. And so the deconstructionism, the fact that they no longer believe in the religion itself or can see the logic of science, it's totally irrelevant. Okay. What the dominant thing that's needed in religious trauma recovery is emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is the main thing that we're concerned about. And it's far more important than deconstructionism. Deconstructionism is, in my view, something that actually can perpetuate the problem or even make trauma worse in someone. So I really want to caution people that move toward working with counseling that is deconstructionist in its approach. It can be quite difficult because those people that are working in that way often don't have any real training in therapy or counseling and really don't understand how defense mechanisms work, how dissociation or depersonalization work in religious trauma, and how trauma really works on a spectrum. So I think it's really important to be careful in this approach that we take. Like I said, the old cult deprogramming style is a deconstructionist approach, but that is a really old kind of outdated style from the 60s and 70s that really is not a good approach to take anymore. The best approach to take now really is a gnostic approach, meaning in the sense that you help the client to discover their own truth for themselves. We do not project our truth upon them. So we're just really, in the sense of most religious trauma people that come, we're just one more authority trying to tell them what's true. And we don't want to take this position. We want to try to help them to work things out for themselves. That is really the best approach, where the client will feel respected and honored. And sometimes they don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Sometimes they really want to hold on to some aspects. It's not up to us to decide what is reality for them. So I hope this is helpful in some way. And thank you very much.